Their image alone has become a symbol of evil to our young. Their satanic music and subversive lyrics threaten to undermine the very fabric of our society. Would you care to hear some of their propaganda?
With Halloween approaching, it's high time we talk about the spookiest, scariest metal albums of 2024 to listen to this season. And first up we have Fulci with Duckface Killings. The Italian giallo horror-obsessed death metalers are back, this time paying homage to Lucio's batshit insane film The New York Ripper. More just classic 90s old-school flavor in the vein of other gore-soaked bands like Mortician, but I also appreciate the occasional added flair of tracks like A Blade in the Dark, which is a very accurate portrayal of the music used in films of this era. Very mumuch a fun album for the horror aficionados out there.
Speaking, what do you want?
To dedicate a murder to you.
Next up is Haggus, with 3 cadavers, 2 corpses, and a carcass, and no end in suffering. This California self-described mincecore band dropping both of these EPs last month, and I do not exaggerate when saying that these are potentially the craziest vocals I have ever heard. Like, I listened to just a few seconds of this and my eyes got the widest they've probably been my entire life. They don't even sound human. How does one even learn to make such a sound? It's like a wild boar being fed backwards into a garbage disposal. Combine that with gnarly grindcore riffs and sickening gore imagery, and this is the perfect music to make Halloween party guests genuinely concerned for your mental health and their physical safety. Then we have Adversarial with Solitude with the Eternal. Few bands so effectively fuse the raw and unkempt aesthetic of 90s black metal with the sheer brutality of death metal, but this Canadian band nails it every time. I frequently describe their music as falling into a deep chasm, but that's not nearly violent enough. Adversarial is falling into a deep fire-spewing chasm while being beaten mercilessly by gremlins with barbed wire baseball bats all the way down. Then we have Aborted with Vault of Horrors. The Belgian kings of modern death metal still killing it 12 albums in since 1999, and with their biggest list of guest spots yet, with someone on every single track from the likes of Shadow of Intent to Archspire. Frankly, every song here is fantastic and filled with gore and horror, with a great start-to-finish flow that has an emphasis on speed and heaviness, but masterfully broken up by the melodic and atmospheric elements. Tons of fun references here too to enjoy.
It is not hands that call us. It is desire.
Then we have Knoll with As Spoken. From the first seconds of the opening title track, this Tennessee band brings all of the violent chaos I've been waiting to see matched since Full of Hell's trumpeting ecstasy, while also channeling further sickness in the likes of Lord Mantis, Portal, Alterage, Vermin Womb, and Imperial Triumphant. This is another spiraling vortex into oblivion with guitars like Swarming Locusts and blackened vocals that slice like an obsidian blade. Completely devoid of light, in fact it seems to suck down any ounce of it in the immediate vicinity. Then we have Les Chants du Hasard with Livre Quartet. I've been a fan of this French project for a few years, with the soul composer Hazard really catching my attention with his unique take on the symphonic black metal genre. Rather than focusing on guitar tremolos and blast beats, he forgoes all of that in favor of a pure orchestral experience that still conjures the same dark atmosphere and is just absolutely perfect for October. What most would convey through distortion, Hazard does through brass, strings, woodwind instruments, and operatic performances, only providing snarling vocals when absolutely necessary for truly grand effect. Bring some dark grandeur to the season with this one. Then we have Benighted with Ekbom. Album 8 for this French death metal crew, also recommended to fans of Aborted. Love the gang vocals and fun techie drumming, as well as another fun feature from Ollie of Archspire. Also consider some very kind of the Black Dahlia Murder sounding riffing, nicely offset by the unignorable grooves of A Reason for Treason and Scapegoat. Just a really fun album full of dark atmosphere and more horror references that should really make a nice double feature with Vault of Horrors. Then there's Evangelist with Perdition Ecstasis Meta. Another well-constructed black vortex of despair. It's an excellent union of black death and industrial elements joining more aggressive, even Godflesh-esque drums and guitar alongside spooky synths. In many ways, this one feels like more of a soundtrack to a horror movie that was never made, and I gotta say, I really want to see that movie. Then there's Fractal Generator with Convergence. The third album from this Canadian death metal band with a dense, apocalyptic-sounding technical side akin to Wormed, Hideous Divinity, and at times even Alterage and Imperial Triumphant. And fitting to the sci-fi imagery, it would pair nicely with revisiting the Alien films. And by the way, even as someone who only generally enjoys the first 2-3 films and has been watching them regularly since the 90s and hates Covenant, I love Alien Romulus. Don't at me. I also dig these subtle synth elements, further adding to the cosmic vibes and overall eeriness, especially the choral ones. Apparently in space, sometimes they can hear you scream.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Then there's Siverus with Maze Envy. The second album from this LA death doom band, and the vocals are like a gaping maw, spewing locusts and black goo right in your face, even more so on Leviathan Tomb, thanks to a guest spot from Derek Rydquist of The Faceless. Incredible production with every cymbal strike captured in pristine detail and a few surprisingly serene moments, as with the title track, that make the return to the more extreme elements all the more impactful and dark and menacing by contrast. We also have Una Sprechlichen Kulten with Hexen Sabaoth. This Chilean death metal band has been at it for almost 25 years and continue to bring only the darkest of atmospheres with its latest full length. Take Behemoth's The Satanists and crossbreed it with Deathspell Omega and Adversarial. Seasoned heavily with some pretty shredding guitar solos, and you get the idea. It's another great example of what I consider to be the perfect ratio of death to doom, and it is just perfect for, again, the backdrop to throwing on some either apocalyptic or satanic horror films.
God is dead! Satan lives!
We also have Gigan with Anomalous Abstractigate Infinitesimus. That is a mouthful, and I probably still said it wrong. The fifth album from this underrated Chicago band, and while it takes a bit to get started, the opening track almost seems like a test designated to weed out the normies. Their sound is one I would describe to newcomers as psychedelic technical death metal, or better yet, Gorguts on acid. You're gonna scare away everyone from the party for this one, so this might be a good one when you're trying to clear things out at the end. We also have Aransi Pazuzu with Moon Tautuj. The newest album on this list actually coming out next week, and album 6 from this Finnish psychedelic black metal band. It's like Trent Reznor meets Blut aus Nord. Industrial, black metal, and even some light dubstep, the classic understated kind too, not the Skrillex kind. Its vibes, sometimes chill and groovy, others eerie and outright terrifying. Creepy yet thoughtful and contemplative, it's the thinking man's Halloween soundtrack. Then we have Feel the Knife with So Raw, So Nasty, So Hideous. I actually only came across this album because it showed up randomly in my YouTube recommendations, but man am I glad it did, because this is basically this year's Ashes, Organs, Blood, and Crips. It's the debut full-length from this Argentinian band. As if you couldn't already tell from the album art, it is soaked in 80s slasher energy and the same old-school death metal vibes as Autopsy. Another one that's not particularly scary, but makes for a fun pairing with Fulci for a campy, stabby good time. And then the top voted album when I asked you all in the community tab, which by the way you should subscribe so that you can be more a part of this community, was for Oculus with House of the Black Geminis. Another atmospheric opus from Colorado black metal musician Nas Alchemeth, also of Eredos, Bestia Arcana, and Nightbringer fame. It is a nightmare of a black hole sucking your very soul from within. Vicious, snarling vocals and a blizzard of distortion signal the coming of demons from the other side. This is how you make 10-minute songs that actually feel worthy of their length, and from the ensorceling production to the always spooky guitar leads, it is a masterpiece worthy of Halloween time. You'll check out this playlist for my last year's Halloween picks, or this video for your own personal recommendations. If you want to add things, put them in the comments down below, hit the like button. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.